Um, Call to order, City of San Ramon Parks and Community Services Commission, regular meeting, March 12, 2025. This is 7 p.m. Item number 2, Pledge of Allegiance. Our Vice Chair Reed, can you please lead us to that?
I would love to. Thank you, Chair. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Item number 3, roll call. Madam Secretary,
Alrighty. Chair Mitra,
present.
Vice Chair Breed,
Present.
Commissioner Dorlick,
Present.
Commissioner Keeney, Commissioner Levy,
Present.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy,
Present.
Commissioner Oslin,
Present.
Student Commissioner Chawla. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 4, special items announcements. 4.1, temporary employee of the month for February, Kevin Yu, presented by Amanda Tagwell, Recreation Coordinator.
Good evening, Commissioners. Good evening, Chair Mitra. My name is Amanda Tugwell. I'm the Aquatics Coordinator with the City of San Ramon. Excited and very honored to be standing next to this individual today. The City of San Ramon Parks and Community Services Department would like to acknowledge Kaiwen Shu, Lifeguard 1 in the Aquatics Division, as the temporary employee of the month for February 2025. Kaiwen joined the City of San Ramon Aquatics staff in September of 2024 and has consistently demonstrated exceptional dedication and work ethic since the beginning of his employment. Although he has only been a lifeguard for the City of San Ramon for a short period of time, he has settled in quickly and has made an impact on the aquatic staff. During shifts at the aquatic centers, Kaiwen exhibits a proactive and helpful attitude, often going the extra mile to assist. For instance, he was the first to volunteer to hop in the pool and assist with untangling the pool covers after a night of strong winds. Additionally, he took the initiative to clean the refrigerator in the lifeguard office on his own and consistently finds tasks to stay engaged and contribute to the upkeep of the facility. His drive and commitment to the team are commendable. Kaiwen is receiving this acknowledgement today because of the recent feedback received from senior staff. He has received 3 All-Star Awards since joining the aquatics team and was recently awarded Lifeguard of the Month for January 2025. Kaiwen also demonstrates great teamwork and is proactive while on shift, taking care of daily tasks and miscellaneous responsibilities before being asked. He offers his assistance to the lead staff and always asks if there's anything else needed to be completed that he can assist with. Kaiwen is currently a sophomore at California High School and is a very long-time swimmer at the San Ramon Olympic Pool. After high school, he aspires to study engineering. The City of San Ramon Parks and Community Services Department would like to take this opportunity to recognize and thank Kaiwen for his dedicated contributions at the San Ramon pools. Thank you so much, Kaiwen, for all your help in making the pools run smoothly. Thank you so much.
Photo.
Yeah.
Photo.
Real quick, a photo? So you go and stand right next to him first. And then you want to put the certificate. So then, what's your cup?
Sorry.
No, I think it's really helpful. Too nice shot.
Kevin?
Get in there, Kevin.
Yeah.
Come on, Kevin.
Come on, Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin.
Come on. Yeah, Kevin. That's all I have. Yeah. I don't even know what that's about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 5, public comments and written communications. At this time, member of the public are encouraged to address the Parks and Community.
Commissioner,
Oh, sorry. 4.2, special announcements.
we could have switched the order. It's fine. But just a quick reminder, I saw you guys had a very successful meeting last month, although I wasn't here. So I did watch it, but I got to remind everybody again, every time I go back to watch our meetings, the microphones. Yeah, so if you ever see somebody that's up there and you can't hear them, tell them to bend the microphone closer. And then some of you forgot to push your button. So then I'm like, oh, what are they saying? So try hard to remember to put your microphones on so that it goes on record. And then a few,
Sometimes it's on purpose.
there you go. Aha, all right, now we know. Also, a few announcements for you. So we have finally made it to March, which means we're having our special meeting on the Boone House renovation project. And so that is Monday, March 24th, 6:30 PM at the San Ramon Community Center. So we're very excited about that. It'll be a joint meeting with the Parks Commission and the Historic Foundation. You'll get a normal agenda packet and everything probably that Wednesday prior, and we will print up copies if you want to pick it up at the community center. Also, some of you I know are exceedingly familiar with the Boone House, and some of you have probably not really been to the Boone House in a while. So if you let me know, then I will set up tours of the Boone House. It won't be as a group because that needs to be agendized. But if I've got one or two that want to go, then we'll get you over there so you can walk around, and that'll help it make more sense when you try and look at a plan. So is there a show of hands of who might want a refresher on the Boone House? Okay, so you write that down for me, Kathy, Kyle, Commissioner Dorlick, Chair Mitra. I got it. Commissioner Breed. Perfect. And Commissioner Caney. Thank you. We'll set something up and hopefully we can get you all through there.
Yep.
So the meeting's at the community center?
Yeah, the joint meeting will be at the community center. I believe we're in the terrace room. Yeah, so it'll be a large group but it'll be it's an exciting project to work on and exciting to get to finally bring some of these plans forward and start to have conversation about them. Also, as long as you're in your calendars, don't put them down yet. The Quail Run Cricket Pitch. You can say that 3 times faster. Good. The Quail Run Cricket Pitch is done and we were excited about it. It's open and it's being used. However, the Cricket Association really wanted to kind of celebrate that. And so we're a little late on a ribbon cutting here. We are going to do a fairly modest celebration on Friday, April 18th at 5:30 in the evening. So if you're available, that will be wonderful. We'll send that out to you in addition, but I just wanted to kind of get that all on your radar. And then also coming up in April, which you will get an invitation to, is our Senior Volunteer Recognition Dinner. And that'll be in conjunction with the San Ramon Senior Center Foundation. That's on Thursday, April 24th, also at 5:30 PM. That'll be definitely an RSVP kind of an invitation because the food is being provided by Kinder's Barbecue. And yes, there will be a vegetarian option.
I'm sorry.
5:30. We're really stuck on like these 5:30, 6:30s this month.
And which day is that, April 24th?
The Senior Volunteer Recognition Dinner is Thursday, April
Thursday.
24th. Yes, and so all options to get on your calendar. And then just a few other upcoming events, just so you know about them. March 14th, we'll have our Community Chorus St. Patrick's Day concert. That's always fun. So that's a good time and it's free. On March 15th, we've got a Parks Make Better Cleanup Day up at the Alcosta Senior and Community Center Park. Can't miss the Library Foundation's big book sale, March 20th, 22nd. And then April 11th, we did add one last presenting series show. That's Preservation Jazz Band at the Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center. They still have tickets available, I believe. And then on April 19th, that's a ways out. We'll have another commission meeting, but I wanted to let you know that'll be our Earth Day celebration at Forest Home Farm. And that's also our Arbor Day tree planting. So that's from 11 to 2. They'll plant the tree and say all the nice words about Earth Day towards the beginning of the program. So that's it. It was all calendar today.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
And thank you. Sorry about missing that earlier. All right, coming back to item number 5, public comments on written communications. At this point, member of the public are encouraged to address the Parks and Community Services Commission on any item not already included in tonight's agenda. Comments should not exceed 3 minutes. During public comments, members of the public are permitted to address commission on the item that are not on the agenda and are within within commission's jurisdictions. Do we have any comment? Not. Okay, all right. Moving on to item number 6, approval of minutes. 6.1, Parks and Community Services Commission, regular meeting, February 12, 2025. Everybody gone through that, I hope, assume? Okay, all right. Can I have a motion? Yep.
Move the acceptance of the February 12, 2025 commission meeting.
Second.
All right. Now we need to vote.
Okay.
Move it.
Oh,
No.
sorry. I preempted you, so.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna second.
Second, okay. There you go.
I know.
Who is that?
It's me.
Doesn't matter what you say.
It follows me, but it'd be.
Thank you. All right. Item number 7, commission business. 7.1, Open Space Advisory Committee 2024 Annual Report. Recommendations: receive the report and provide feedback. Introduction by Brad Morris, Division Manager, presented by Robert People, Open Space Advisory Committee Chair.
Yeah, good evening, Chair Mitra, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to introduce you tonight the Open Space Advisory Committee Annual Report. I think once you hear about all the activities that the Open Space Advisory Committee has accomplished this year, you'll agree that we've been quite busy over the last year. Just as a reminder, the Open Space Advisory Committee reports directly to the City Council, so there's no action required from the Commission on this item. It's just an informational only report. However, we just think it's important because there's a lot of great information in this report that falls in line with what the Parks and Community Services Commission hears about and what our department works on. So we thought it would be great to bring this report to you, as you may get questions from the community on some of these items, as well as yourself. Myself and Chair Peoples will be more than happy to answer any questions from you after the presentation. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Chair Peoples to provide you with the Open Space Advisory Committee Annual Report.
Good evening, Chair Mitra, Commissioners, staff.
Okay. Press the button, yeah.
It's green. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now it's better.
Closer.
Usually it's gray, but it's green this week.
Good evening. I'm Bob Peoples, the Chair of the city's Open Space Committee, or as we refer to it, OSAC. The committee welcomes the opportunity to share its 2024 annual report presented to the City Council last month. The annual report summarizes our activities and accomplishments last year and what we hope to accomplish this coming year. We appreciate your continued interest in the committee efforts and initiatives. Current committee members and liaison are listed on this slide. The active participation of Commissioner Osland and other commissioners who have served as an alternate for her as a full member of the committee, in addition to serving as liaison, is much appreciated. There were a few membership changes last year. Sally Scholl, a longtime advocate for open space and committee member since 2020, didn't seek reappointment, and Jadeep Vijika was promoted from alternate member to a full member. The committee made a significant operational change last year by shifting its meeting time and date. Beginning in March, meetings were held on the third Monday of the month in the afternoon at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, rather than at 8:30 in the morning on the second Monday of the month. This has been I think, a very positive step, enhancing our outreach to the community and increasing public participation in the meetings. Previously, the teen council liaison to the committee was in school and was not able to attend the meetings, but now does participate. And lately, several high school students and other city residents have attended meetings. The committee's bylaws instructed to advise and report directly to the city council. Summarized here are the 6 responsibilities of the committee specified in those bylaws. Historically, and right up to the present, open space and green space in and contiguous to the city was and remains very important and relevant to city residents. Those natural areas provide significant physical and mental health benefits to residents and those working in the city, along with many other services providing other services for the community. That natural capital is central to the quality of life, a key to the quality of life here in the city. In response, the committee proactively fulfills its responsibilities in what we hope is a thoughtful, responsible, and pragmatic manner that, taking into considerations the desires and best interests of the cities and its residents, we seek to identify and understand the effect of any activities or issues affecting open space and green space. Consistent with and inferred from its charge and ongoing activities, the committee adopted 3 goals in 2021. The 3 goals used through 2024 were protection and preservation and open space in and contiguous to the city, management and use of that open space, and encouraging the outreach and community and education about open space. These goals articulate what the committee hopes to accomplish over time and provide a framework for actions undertaken to achieve those goals in fulfillment of our responsibilities. However, the committee recognizes that the issues and circumstances it deals with are dynamic and are continually changing. New issues and/or opportunities arise, and we continually develop further insight into issues that we've been dealing with. So periodically updating committee goals is desirable and appropriate, and having them evolve over time. Last year, during 11 meetings, the committee received presentations from and had discussions with staff and representatives of a growing array of organizations. Notable, I think, on this list is the diversity of topics and issues considered, as well as the number of partners involved. I'd like to briefly review the committee's 2024 activities and accomplishments in fulfillment of its responsibilities and as we try to accomplish our goals. Summarized on this slide, our actions providing the basis for timely and relevant advice regarding protecting and preserving open space in and contiguous to San Ramon. The committee began exploring the nature and extent of open space and green space within the city in January of 2023. Issues associated with identifying urban open space and green space and how to present that information to city residents were discussed and debated in 6 committee meetings over the next year and a half. It was a new issue that we were looking at, and as we got into it, there were a lot of different perspectives on it that we tried to resolve. The result of that effort is the infographic that you see on the slide. The committee also has a responsibility to advise the city council regarding resources and funding available for preservation and maintenance of open space in and contiguous to the city. Since 2022, the committee has sought information about the history and use of monies in the city's open space fund. which was established, I think, in 2014. Significant additional insight was provided last year in last year's presentations, but questions still remain, and we'll continue to work on that issue. Planning staff provided an update about city planning activities, initiatives, and implementation of General Plan 2040 as it relates to open space. For the second year in a row, county planning staff briefed the committee regarding development content and this past year implementation of the county's General Plan 2045, or as they now refer to it, Envision Contra Costa. The the committee expressed interest in and support for the county's current urban limit line, which will expire in 2026 in those discussions. A presentation regarding the city's funding situation and needs was received in January, and this was, I think, the first of the many presentations that the city made leading up to passage of the Measure N last year. The last year, staff of the San Ramon Valley Fire Protection District, our local fire department, outlined wildfire threats and risks associated with open space in the vicinity of the city. The focus was on the district's resources and capabilities for responding to wildfires. The committee began discussions about wildfire and the nexus to open space back in 2023, and maybe even before that, because we recognize that as an issue. I think initially we became aware of concern about the increase in insurance rates that residents in the city were experiencing, but that led to looking further into that whole issue. And again, see that as fulfillment of our responsibility to be a forum regarding open space issues important to the community. And so we've continued to look into that. I think since then, concern about wildfire has rapidly amplified and broadened into a significant concern in the community. The Los Angeles firestorms in January increased the immediacy and urgency of such threats to our own homes here. And then in February, I think it was on the 24th of February, CAL FIRE released their updated fire hazard severity map for San Ramon and the rest of the Bay Area, which shows increased threats associated with this. And, because of those events, I think the city has already begun to really focus in on the issue of wildfire. At the February 25th City Council meeting, Fire Chief Meyer and his deputy provided a comprehensive and informative briefing on how the fire department is responding to this concern. They were very aware. I was impressed, and I put a lot of thought into these issues, and I was impressed at how aware they were of the threats and how actively they were seeking ways to increase their capabilities and effectiveness to prepare for such threats. If you didn't hear that presentation, I think it's probably online on the city's YouTube channel. And that, it's an hour plus, I think, but it is really informative. From my perspective, one aspect of that issue was not really fully realized in that presentation, and that deals with what can and should be done to reduce threats from wildfire in open space upwind of the city, particularly when we have really dry conditions in the fall with the Diablo winds, and that's where the major hazards are. And there are some things that can be done about that to reduce that risk. And there's some activity going on in the county now to restore fire to these open space, make fire an ally rather than an enemy. And hopefully the committee will continue to follow up on that, as will the city. encouraging and facilitating access to open space, has long been a focus of the committee. We also recognize that stewardship of that resource, must also be addressed. For several years, the committee has enthusiastically supported development of an updated trails master plan. And we're really pleased that, that effort is getting underway with a contractor having been hired. Consistent with our bylaws, the committee sees partnerships with other open space entities as well as other organizations that affect open space of interest to the city as central to our achieving our goals. Last year, the committee engaged with East Bay Parks, the 3 local land trusts, the San Ramon Valley Fire Department, city and county planning staff and GAD staff as part of that effort to build and enhance partnerships. The committee has long seen education of the community about and promotion of open space as one of its key roles. Unfortunately, preparation of a report regarding progress and setbacks protecting open space was deferred again. I think this is the second year we've deferred that. With staff support, the committee has held a number of outreach events last year. In the spring and fall, committee members led 4 hikes on trails in and adjacent to the city, involving about 100 participants. As in past years, those hikes were very collegial and much appreciated by the participants. We had our annual non-hike event in February featuring a presentation about things learned on the trail by author and hiking enthusiast Susan Alcorn. And the committee again had an information booth during the Art and Wind Festival in May. These events provide opportunities to meet and engage with many individuals and families from all segments of the community. And lastly, under this goal, each year the committee provides comments and suggestions about the city's web pages and recently apps related to open space and its use. This year, the committee has another ambitious agenda planned. There's a variety of issues and opportunities regarding open space of interest to the city and benefit to its residents and workforce are addressed. This and the next 2 slides outline the committee's 2025 work program. We will continue to focus on funding needs and sources for protecting and stewarding open space in and contiguous to the city. The next 3 items on this list, B, C, and D, help the committee understand the implications of the information received concerning open space in and contiguous to the city. As the county's urban limit line will expire in 2026, the committee continues to be very interested in how it will be extended and possibly enhanced. I think it's difficult to overemphasize the importance of this key tool for protecting open space. It's the first line of defense that we have of maintaining it. This coming Monday, at our meeting on Monday, county staff will brief the committee on the process for developing a ballot measure to extend the urban limit line for 20 years. The county is sponsoring a ballot measure, a referendum, which will be included in the June 2026 primary elections. And that's something I think we'll be focusing on and really trying to encourage enactment of that approval of that referendum. And having the county staff make a presentation, we'll get some sense of, as I understand it, they've identified a large amount of land that they're going to add to the urban limit line, be included within the urban limit line, and a little bit that they're going to exclude. So we'll learn more about that. And we may get into discussing the desirability and feasibility of making the, for instance, making the county's urban limit line congruent with the city urban growth boundary. We'll see how that discussion goes, but that's, one possibility that has been raised previously. Lastly, the status of protection for the 8,700 acres of open space identified in the committee's 2022 vision document will be reviewed this coming year. Hopefully, we'll be able to identify changes in the status of parcels, look at the effectiveness of protection methods, and look at other aspects of the document and its recommendations. And as you'll see, we'll be able to put that together into a report to the community. I want you to note on this, the goal here has been restated this year to reflect, better reflect, what the committee is trying to accomplish. We want to facilitate stewardship and use or access to open space, appropriate use and access to open space. The committee will assist staff in whatever way possible as the staff and their contractor develop the trails management plan. We look forward to a very fruitful collaboration on that. The committee will continue to strengthen existing and establish additional partnerships with entities affecting open space of interest to the city and its residents. Much open space of interest to the city is beyond the city boundaries, in the planning area and the vistas and whatnot that we see. And we continue to depend on that growing array of partners to assist in the protection of and stewardship and access to those to that open space. This goal has also been restated again to better reflect what the committee hopes to achieve. It's results of our review of the status of open space, will be used to prepare the open space progress, protection progress report, for the city and its residents. With staff support, the committee has already hosted a non-hike event, and led one hike, and we will be leading 3 other hikes and participating in the city's Heart and Wind Festival again this year. And the committee will continue to review and suggest modifications to the city's web pages and apps related to open space and trails. Thank you for your attention this evening. I'd be pleased to respond to any questions or comments you or the public may have.
Thank you, Chair People. Really appreciate that. It is just like every year. This is an awesome report. Thank you. And thank you for all your services and your team services. I really
welcome.
appreciate that. It is very important for us to have to preserve our open space. It is absolutely important. All right. So, any feedback, any clarifying questions from anybody? No? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I actually, can I?
You had a question?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
go ahead.
Bob, can I just make one comment? I mean, first of all, did what Parker said, and thank you so much. I always learn a lot. My only comment or whatever question is on the urban growth boundary. You said it's up for election. Is there is part of the committee? The question is, how do we educate the public on the importance of this and really what's coming up and why it's important? How is there a process in educating the city or on what it is and why it's important and the importance of understanding it? So
There needs to be. The committee has not sat down and addressed that, but I'm hoping that will occur this year. We're going to have, as I mentioned, we're going to have the presentation from the county staff Monday afternoon, and we'll have a better feel for what's being proposed, and we're going to be asking them what they're going to be doing to help publicize this and seek approval of it. But I think the committee will then, in a subsequent meeting or later on Monday afternoon, we'll talk about what we can do to help encourage the city to publicize it and to spread the word within the community.
Yeah, I appreciate it, because that's why my question's a little shaky. I'm gonna go look it up myself and understand it better. So that's why I asked the question, if it's that important to the city, how do we educate? So thank you.
Yeah, it's, there will be interest in that. I suspect Save Mount Diablo is going to have a big initiative on that and other open space organizations. But it's something I would like to see the committee make some recommendations to the city to actively support that also.
Thank you. We have one more question, Bob.
Bob, what areas or what parcels have been identified as far as the growth of outside the boundary?
Which,
Are there particular parcels that have been identified? Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Are there particular parcels that have been identified as target acquisitions by the city, by the county, by the committee?
there has been a lot of activity on the properties that we identified in 2022, on the 8,700 acres. And we have, I think we have a pretty good handle on where those are. I'm aware that there's some interest on trying to acquire, I think at least one parcel of interest, whether or not, that's going to materialize. The difficulty with open space preservation and trying to acquire it, we do not use eminent domain. We do not take the property.
Right.
It's a process of negotiations, and it depends on the landowner wanting to recover the value of the property and sell it. And there's a lot of factors that determine their interest in doing that. And I'm aware, I try to stay away from that because I don't want to get between the people that are negotiating with the landowners and the landowner. But I'm aware that there is some discussions going on at least one property, and I think there are some opportunities on some others. I know I have had the opportunity to make recommendations, since so much of this land is outside, virtually all of this land is outside the city boundaries. And the city, even with the open space fund, doesn't have a lot of money to buy this land. We depended on partners, particularly East Bay Parks, to acquire this land to add to their parks. And they have a process where they identify areas. Each of the members of the board of directors is able to identify areas. And I have been able to suggest some areas that I'm aware of, some opportunities, it seems to me.
So is there one, you indicate there, so there's one that's actively being pursued?
Yeah, but keep in mind, it's a long game.
No, I understand that, but
And
is it near the labor union area up on the west side? Is it, can you just give us an idea?
These are very sensitive.
Oh, okay.
issues, And I would prefer not to get into any details. In terms of, where there's active discussions going on.
Okay, I mean, we're not asking for the APN, we're just,
Yeah,
can you give us an
understand that,
idea
yeah. But
where it might be extended?
You're aware that, in the 2022 vision document, we have
Uh-huh.
3 areas of West Side Hills.
Right.
Bollinger Canyon, and then Tasahara Valley. So
Right.
it's in one of those 3 areas.
Commissioner.
Okay.
But
Thanks for the
I,
specificity.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. As I say, I'm aware of these, and I am try to be very careful about not inserting myself between the landowner and the agencies that are negotiating, the entities.
That's cool.
I mean,
But I'd ask a question.
we've had,
One that's eminent, not eminent domain, but one that's eminent, it might be interesting from a parks and community services perspective to at least know, is it east, west?
Well, I
north,
mean,
south?
there's a couple of other things that are happening. You're aware of the Finley Road Ranch, the 768 acres that East Bay Parks bought back in what, end of 2023 or something like that. And that had been going on, and I had kind of caught wind of it ahead of time, but then it was finally announced, and, you know, and that's a major accomplishment. East Bay Parks is continuing to work on the Tassajara Parks proposal over in the Tassajara Valley.
Yep.
They had an agreement, there is an agreement there that the owner is going to transfer 727 acres to East Bay Parks if they're able to develop 30 acres up on Camino Ramon. And that was agreed to, went to court, and the courts agreed that they could, that the county could extend the urban limit line to exclude that 30 acres so it could be developed.
Okay.
But the developer has not been able to get access to water supply in order to develop that, so it's still kind of in limbo. So that parcel is there, and it was identified back in 2013 and
Mhm.
a priority study then.
Yeah, water
it's-
is always an issue. That's been a
and,
development issue for many years.
There's an issue over here on by the Faria Preserve, you know, that entrance going up into Bollinger Canyon. There's two
Right.
parcels there on either side of it, 140 acres or something like that, which is going to be transferred to East Bay Parks whenever they finally get everything built there. I mean, they're building a trailhead up there at the old corral trailhead, and
Mhm.
you know, the developer is building that, and eventually they will transfer that property to East Bay Parks, and that was identified, or some of that was identified in 2013 also. So again, it tends to be a long game. What I think is really important is to identify an area that you're interested in,
Mhm.
which the committee has done with our 2022, and say, this is an area we think ought to be preserved. We put a lot of thought into that and have a lot of specificity in terms of what's involved in that. And now we have something that we can tell developers, you know, or the owners, you know, and the report does say that we don't care who owns that land as long as it remains as open space. But if you want to recover some of the value from that by selling it or developing it, the community, and I think that's the terminology we use, the community would like the opportunity to purchase it or to acquire it at that time.
Mhm.
And that kind of just lays the foundation that we can continue to build on, you know. And I think I've said this before, but you know, where we are today, of that 8,700 acres we identified, you know, about a third of it is protected now. About a third of it has protection beyond the zoning requirements. And 1/3 still doesn't have any protection beyond the zoning requirements. So there's been a lot of progress over 40+ years, you know, the city's been in existence.
Mhm.
And what we're doing today is we're standing on the shoulders of all those folks that went ahead of us and accomplished where we are today. And we just have to think of it as a long game and understand where we want to be eventually at some time way in the future.
Great. No, understood.
Yeah, that's a long-winded answer to your question. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but-
I mean, water is always going to be an issue, as is, you know, utilities in general. If you're looking at a parcel that's not connected to the urban, you know, the urban plan. So, all right,
Well,
thank you.
Thank you.
As I say,
Kathy, you
there's
had something?
been a lot of interest in, a
No.
lot of activity related to these parcels. There was a parcel up there at the end of, it's in the Gelderman property there, 20 acres, which was subdivided recently. And then there was another proposal up off of the Norris Canyon Road to subdivide a couple of those properties up there. The one on, up by the Gelderman property there with the subdivision was approved, 20 acres divided into 3 parcels. The one up on Norris Canyon Road was not approved. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff happening all the time.
Mhm.
And that's what I hope to see in a report, which kind of summarizes all these changes. And and, make some assessment as to where we're going to go.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. You have something, Kathy? No. Yeah, yeah. All right, any comment? Sorry, any public comments? Okay, any comment from the commission? Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chair Mitra, and thank you, Bob Peoples, for your leadership and for all the knowledge that you have brought to the city of San Ramon. This committee is near and dear to my heart. I learn something new every time I attend a meeting, and it is a long game. And one thing that I just wanted to comment on about communication, that's why we attend the Art and Wind Festival. That's why we're trying to be out and about. That's why we have the hikes, so that when the folks come, these are things that we do talk about. It's brought up. Our last hike that we had, which was last Saturday, we were fortunate to have Seth Adams, the executive director of Save Mount Diablo, lead our hike. And, with Bob and Seth there, I mean, there was a wealth of knowledge and so much information was shared, and it was a fantastic 2 hours spent. So thank you for everything that you do to lead us forward
It
with
was
this
great. It was a
initiative.
great Saturday, once we got up the first 800.
Oh, you were fine. You were fine. It was when you broke the water bottle broke, but no, it was lovely. It was an amazing day,
A very-
and thank you.
35 people that participated.
Yeah.
It was a really
It was
pleasant, again,
beautiful day and
collegial and
good
very
crowd,
pleasant,
big crowd. But I also want to thank the staff, because sometimes these meetings can be passionate, and there's a lot of emotions, and we're wanting to get answers. Our guest speakers really kind of help us connect the dots a lot of times, where John Muir Land Trust is already looking at that property. Save Mount Diablo is informing us about this other property. So everybody, East Bay Regional Parks, it's that everybody is in the game and on top of the game. So it's fabulous. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
being
Well-
able to work with those folks is really important.
I have a question for the next trail walks. I mean, do we have a calendar right now?
I'm sorry. April 12th.
April
Yeah,
12th.
I think you and Diana, yeah.
10.
Yeah,
Um,
what we did with these first two hikes this year is that we focused on Doherty Ridge. Doherty Ridge separates San Ramon, sometimes referred to as New San Ramon and Old San Ramon. Although coming from New England myself with a long history there, a city that's 40 years old, it's old, it doesn't quite ring true for me, but that's the way folks refer to it. But so we hiked the northern part of the Doherty Ridge. And then next month, April 12th, we'll be hiking the southern half of the
North.
ridge on that. And you really get a sense of the city. You can see the whole city, both sides, and you can appreciate all this open space in between.
Cool.
Uh,
Awesome.
and
Thank
the-
you.
And the planning that went into it that resulted in developing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Peoples. All right. Okay. Item number 7.2, 2025 sponsorship program overview. Recommendation: receive the report and provide feedback, presented by Mayor Lenick, administrative analyst. Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. Just bear with me 1 second while I change the PowerPoint. All right. Good evening, Chair Mitra, Vice Chair Breed, commissioners, staff, and the public at home. I'm May Malinik. I'm the analyst for Parks and Community Services, and I oversee our department's sponsorship program. So before I dive in, I have a couple of clarifications that you may have noticed while you were looking at the PowerPoint. So clarification number one, as you all know, we do have our primary partners for our program support, which are our nonprofit foundations. So there's the Arts Foundation, the Historic Foundation, the Senior Center Foundation, and the Library Foundation. Those are all nonprofit partners. They are not part of this presentation, so that's why you don't see them featured here. For sponsorships specifically, there are sponsorships and there are donations. So donations are funds or items given with nothing in return, and sponsorship is the exchange of funds or in-kind services for some type of return on investment, whether that is marketing or recognition at the event. So for the sake of tonight's presentation, we're focusing specifically on sponsorships, not our foundation partnerships or not donations. So just wanted to let you guys know. All right, so over the years, the city has been fortunate to partner with large and well-known companies such as PG&E, Chevron, San Ramon Regional Medical Center, Bishop Ranch, Pac Bell, which became SBC Network, which is now AT&T, Patelco Credit Union, and Sports Basement. These were our major players for years. The impact of Chevron cannot be minimized. So for the last 20, if not more years, Chevron has been our most prominent and most consistent sponsor. They served as the title sponsor for numerous events, such as the Art and Wind Festival, the Summer Concert Series, Run San Ramon, and Bah Humbug. They were also our sole theater sponsor for many years. So you might have remembered seeing their plaque over at Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center and Front Row Theater. As many are aware, Chevron recently moved their headquarters to Texas, and we received our last funding from them in the form of a donation, a final donation, just this past December. So one thing I wanted to point out particularly about this slide, so these were all consistent sponsors at one time, where we were getting significant funds from everyone you see on this slide, year after year, for event after event, pretty continuously, and they were great partners to rely on. As of today, the only sponsor that we are currently working with right now, receiving funds for, was Bishop Branch. We currently don't have any consistent sponsorships in the queue. We do have a small partnership with San Ramon Regional Medical Center for our senior outreach program, and we are working with Sports Basement for in-kind services for some of our smaller events like the runs. But everyone else, we currently don't have anything lined up. So we went from having a very robust partnership and now not so much, but we'll get back into that in a second. So special events are really the tip of the iceberg for sponsorship opportunities. As you may have seen in the city manager's traveling roadshow presentations on the budget last year, there are two common myths. Myth number one is that a city with a high average household income is flush with cash. That's wrong. So San Ramon pales in comparison to our neighboring cities. Pleasanton, Dublin, even Danville, Walnut Creek, Livermore, their budgets are more expansive than ours. That is just fact. Myth number two is that property tax and sales tax should cover everything and beyond, which is also not true. So for example, for every dollar that's paid in property tax, the city of San Ramon receives 10 cents of that dollar. Of that dime, Parks and Community Services receives 16%. So we receive 16% of each dime that is paid by the dollar in property tax. On the flip side, sales tax in San Ramon is currently 8.75%. And of that 8.75%, the city of San Ramon only receives 1%. And that's the city as a whole, not Parks and Community Services specifically. So from time to time again, especially when you see me up here, we're always talking about the importance of a 50% cost recovery, and this is why. So I wanted to highlight our special events, which are essentially our landmark programs. So when you see the sponsorship opportunities that I'll go over in the next few slides, 90% of those sponsorship dollars are focused on these special event programs. So Culture in the Community Celebration, originally that was in fall, September, October. We just recently moved it to January, which was a hit. So that's in the very beginning of the calendar year. Moving on into the spring, we have our two presenting series performances, the first one being in spring. So you might remember last year we had Tisra, which had our Grammy-nominated performer, Zakar Hussain. He was performing last spring, so we have that. Of course, there's the Art and Wind Festival, which is the weekend of Memorial Day. June and July, we have 3 dive-in movies. On the 4th of July, we have Run San Ramon in the morning, and then the 4th of July concert in the evening. In the summer concerts, we have anywhere from 4 to 5 summer concerts that start on the Sunday after the 4th of July. And then in the fall, we have our other presenting series performance. This past fall, we had Nick Carter of the Backstreet Boys. That was a great show. And then we usually round off the year the first Saturday of December with the Bah Humbug 5K and 1K Kids Dash. So these are, we have additional, of course, events such as the Senior Outreach Wellness Fair. We also have success with our new juried exhibits that are actually getting a lot of in-kind sponsorships, but these are our primary events where you'll find different sponsorship opportunities for different partners. But this isn't where it stops. So when we talk about 50% cost recovery and what we would ideally like to see, if we had additional sponsorship opportunities to kind of cover our other programs that actually make the bulk of what Parks and Community Services really is, you can see we have a multitude of options, such as adult sport leagues. We could put a sponsor logo on the uniforms, or they could provide either in-kind trophies or even have their name on the bottom of the trophy. Our 2 aquatic centers, we have scoreboards currently, and you might even see very old logos on there currently, but that's another opportunity as well. We have had a sponsor in the past that would put their logo on the sleeve of the lifeguard uniforms. Also rec swim supplies like the dive boards. City Lights, our volunteer recognition program, that would be amazing to have a sponsor for that. Volunteers are really the backbone of our events. So we have volunteers pretty much for almost all of our major events. And currently we can only recognize them with like an event towards the end of the year. That might include like a very small dinner, but it would be great to expand that potentially to maybe like some type of tchotchke that they could take with them, maybe even a better reception, not just necessarily a small meal, because we really want to thank them for their service. There's community bands. So of course, like the cost of the music programs could be pricey. Our instruments could also be upgraded. Holiday tree lighting is a fan favorite. The decor that you see here in the rotunda, it does, get weathered from time to time. If we could actually upgrade that or even include the second floor in the decorations, that would just be something great for the community to enjoy. And then also our Letters to Santa program. Currently, the Letters to Santa program is completely free. All residents can drop off a letter in our Santa mailbox. But currently, as you probably all know, the cost of postage is really a disadvantage to us, because as the cost of postage increases, and then especially when we're sending a letter per child, one house could have 3 children. Of course, Santa can't subsidize all the letters in the same envelope. So it's just things like that people don't necessarily realize kind of the impact. But as we get to a point where it could be $1 to mail a letter, it's just those are the little things that are kind of eking our expenses. Theaters, art galleries, exhibits, and supplies. Our art center is still newly renovated. We are trying to increase the programming, also increase the exhibits and the shows, which would include supplies for the kiln, for just our new programming that we're trying to get going over up at Doherty. On the other side of the slide, there's senior outreach. So we do have a resource fair, and you'll probably see in our future slide that the resource fair is doing well in terms of sponsorships. But of course, for our seniors overall, we would like to improve the programming beyond just barbecues and movies and just really do things for our senior community in more than what we currently have now. Currently, we have the Encore newsletter that's just sent out to Encore members. I can tell you for our newsletter that we just recently sent, we have sent out all of our copies. We currently don't have any physical copies at the senior center, so we're currently encouraging like the seniors to, visit the QR code if they want to have extra copies of the newsletter. But again, this is a great opportunity where if we just had just a little bit of extra funding, we could have extra copies of the newsletter without having to print them on our own copier because it's not the same quality. The graphics won't quite look the same. So just thinking of things like that. Forest Home Farms, we have lots of robust programming there, such as Holiday on the Farm, Trick or Treat on the Farm, Saturday programs, lots of opportunities there as well. Just our programs alone, there's a lot of crafts that we do every Saturday. That would be really helpful to have additional funding to, just pay for those little free crafts that we offer the community. The Trails Challenge, which is a favorite of not only just the open space community, but just the community at large. Everyone loves the t-shirt. The t-shirt was one of the cuts that we had to implement in the last fiscal year when we had the budget shortfall. They are back in this upcoming budget and the community is excited. And there are also awards as well. So, we have stickers for different mileage, depending on how many miles you can complete in the Trails Challenge. And it's just like the races. So when you complete a race, like everyone, I'd say half of the incentive for most community runners, not, the hardcore professional runners, is getting that medal. So it's the same thing with the Trails Challenge. You got to have the shirt, got to have the sticker. And that's another opportunity for a sponsor to be able to put their logo on the shirt or on the award itself. Lastly, in our last three additional categories, youth sport leagues, just like the adult leagues, we have the opportunity to put your logo on the uniform, the trophies, the equipment. Fields and facilities overall, this includes different rooms within our community centers, such as the dance studio, sports fields, which I'll talk about more in 1 second, and of course, dog parks. And then also a facility of ours, Crow Canyon Gardens. We've had partnerships with companies in the past that have sponsored allotments. It would be great to have a sponsor that is willing to be more of a consistent presence, maybe someone that can help us clean up the garden. They can also even drive more interest in the garden. Those are just all very brief overview of different opportunities that we don't currently have in place at the moment. Regarding sports field sponsorship, that is a challenge for us. When our staff initially presented that as a possibility to this commission, it is something that we would love to activate, but our biggest barrier is the expense. So in order to get a company to commit to be a named partner on something such as a sports field, or even a portion of the field itself, that's obviously a very strong commitment, not only financially, but over time as well. Because just the cost to the city to create the signage, to change like the maps, to update the locations like on the internet and everywhere, it's obviously a very significant commitment. So for example, Walnut Creek has a partnership with their local soccer FC, their football club, where they currently subsidize like a portion of the lights. Also more close to this current location in Pleasanton, you might be familiar that Pleasanton had a partnership with Patelco, where they named both one of their community parks and their sports field after Patelco. But just within a matter of maybe 2 years or so, Patelco wasn't able to continue that investment, and so that's why it's now named Stanford Valley Care Sports Park. So keeps changing, and you can only imagine like what the cost is on the city side to make those changes. But usually for a field, when we initially presented the sports field as an option, we were hoping that was something we could activate with a partner to the tune of 20,000. We have such decreased it to 10,000. We still don't have any hits yet. We are trying to get, some partners out there. There are people that we work with regularly, but I'll elaborate it on more a little bit later. But the biggest challenge is inflation. And it's very hard to ask companies, whether they're local or not, to invest pretty substantially into the community when they're having a hard time with their own expense costs. So here are just some examples of our actual sponsor placements. So I mentioned that Chevron was a theater sponsor. Those two placards you see on the far left of the slide is when we had their logo on a placard at Front Row and the Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center. You see the Discover San Ramon logo there. That's not an actual placement. That's just a proof that we created for them. They are our latest sponsor. They're the title sponsor of this year's Art and Wind Festival. So that's just something we mocked up for them. For Chevron, they were a significant sponsor, like I mentioned. So here's just another example of our Art and Wind marketing, where pretty much everywhere that we marketed the Art and Wind Festival, we made sure to include the Chevron logo. We named the main stage the Chevron stage. We also had a food area that was named after them as well. And just additional sponsorship opportunities you can see. So Remax, as an in-kind sponsor, they would provide their hot air balloon at the Art and Wind Festival. And you could see that's just great brand awareness for their company. The 999 is our race bib from one of our races. That's from Run San Ramon. You could see the logo for Chevron and Sports Basement. And again, another great opportunity for visibility for companies because, not only the pictures or just people picking up their bibs, taking pictures for themselves, that logo is just essentially, it's immortalized. In the center, we have Run San Ramon. The sponsors love the t-shirts. Not only do they love seeing their logo, they like to take one for themselves to keep. We always have great quality race shirts, and it's always just fun to see the compilation of the different companies that supported us for race day. And then lastly, this is one of our pictures from a previous Art and Wind Festival, and it just shows how Chevron chose to show their logo. They had two small banners towards the back, which was kind of genius. As people were watching the performance, you couldn't miss the Chevron flag. So that is just a little small sample of logo placement. Depending on the event, we have different sponsorship levels. In general, you'll typically see 5 separate levels. We start from bronze and go all the way up to presenting or title. The event kind of dictates what the level will provide. It's essentially different levels of marketing or comp tickets or comp entries. So for example, at our runs, I'd say the most common would probably be either the bronze through the gold level. Everyone is very excited to have a booth on race day where they can be part of our sponsor expo and actually interface with the different members of the public, because not only, at least here in San Ramon, not only do we have race participants, a lot of people from the community just love to see the runners in action. They'll bring their own chairs or they'll just hang out on the grass along El Costa and just kind of watch the runners go by. Gold is when you start seeing comped entries. So for example, at the gold level, we'll provide 2 complimentary race entries, all the way up to the presenting / title level for only $2,500. You can get a total of 10 comped entries, which is a really great value. Chevron, for example, they had their own run club, so they would always use their comped entries for their run club, and it was really nice to see them all in their Chevron garb and enjoying themselves. But sometimes we have separate events that kind of come up once in a blue moon, such as our light parade. So in 2023, we had a special sponsorship package for anyone participating in the parade itself. And you can see those different levels here. We have Friend of the City, Shining Sponsor, Ruby Sponsor, Illuminating Sponsor. And those were just different package levels specific to the parade. So it provided either VIP parking spots, VIP sitting area. Of course, you could also have your exhibitor booth right on the parade path. And it was a really great event, as you all know. And then lastly, for sponsorship benefits, all of our sponsors get recognition in our fall recreation guide. We have a special sponsor page. Depending on your level, we'll either feature your full company logo or at the very least include your company name. And we include our in-kind sponsors as well. So a timeline. So if you wanted to just see the overall cost, I did summarize everything by fiscal year at the very top. But basically the way this reads is, so we have our main events such as the Art and Wind Festival, our special programs, which include Culture in the Community, Dive-In Movies, the Light Parade, tree lighting all together, our fitness races, summer concerts, and senior outreach. So for example, in fiscal year 2018 to 2019, our adopted budget for sponsorships was $44,000, and we actually ended the year at $71,000 in sponsorships. I did not include fiscal year 1920 or 2021 due to COVID, but from fiscal year 21 to today is where you really see a dramatic swing in our sponsorship performance. So in fiscal year 21-22, our adopted budget for sponsorship was $73,000. And we finished the year at $104,000. For fiscal year 22-23, our adopted budget was $84,000, and we finished the year at $96,000. For fiscal year 23-24, the year that just passed, our adopted budget was $95,500, and we finished the year at $137,500. So I'll point out that most of that is Art and Wind and the parade. So for the Art and Wind Festival, you can see we've consistently hit our target at least by 10,000, and then starting to hit 20,000 over as of 23-24. With the Light Parade, that was a special instance. I really want to talk about the significance of the parade because currently we do not have the parade scheduled. We don't have a date of our next one. But in that year alone, we were able to bring in new sponsorships. There was a lot of excitement. We hadn't had a parade in 10 plus years. It was our very first night parade, so it was very exciting. And it was a great way to earn sponsorship dollars for the city. Fitness races, it's pretty consistent. As you can see, it's pretty much in the realm of 10,000 to 12,000. Summer concerts is our one category where you'll see 3 numbers in red. The red just indicates that we weren't able to hit that specific target for that program that year. And senior outreach has also either tripled or almost doubled pretty much every year. But overall, even with the summer concerts not hitting their target 2 or 3 years, you can see that overall we've consistently hit our sponsorship target and advanced beyond that. So as we get towards the end, I do want to impart a few things. While we're doing well, and the challenge is obtaining and retaining sponsors. This requires a lot of staff time and staff energy. When we procure sponsorship dollars, the dollars goes directly to the cost of the program itself. It does not include going towards like staff salaries or anything like that. It's just really truly to the operational expenses of the program. Currently, we don't have anyone that is 100% focused on sponsorships. It is definitely a team effort, and we do try to push sponsorship wherever we have the opportunity. Our forecasts have been conservative, as you can see, when we try to formulate a sponsorship budget. We do focus our staff on programs that meet the needs of the community, especially our revenue generating programs. But in the future, we will try to increase our projections to be a little more aspirational, but also keeping in mind that currently the market is trending to be a little conservative. On this particular slide, you'll see all of our Art and Win sponsors from 2024. We were very fortunate to have a handful of medium area sponsors. So in addition to our title sponsor, we had a sponsor for the stage, we had a sponsor for the professional kite area, we had a sponsor for the kid zone, and et cetera. But one thing I want to point out is, we could really use help with referrals. As we all are, do business in San Ramon. If you know the marketing person of someone in a company local, we'd love to hear about them. I'd love to meet them. And that's really just kind of the best way we can kind of advance just our stronghold in terms of sponsorships. We are looking for not necessarily just headquarters, anyone who's interested in investing in the community. So that could be someone here. We do have partners even in Danville, in Dublin, in Livermore, especially places that have multiple locations and they're looking to get into San Ramon. We love to meet with all of them. So think of your realtors, your credit unions, your sport clubs. Happy to meet with them and just mention any kind of opportunity that there is for us to partner. And with that, any questions or suggestions?
Thank you, Mick. Okay, clarifying question.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the queue.
Oh,
Does that
okay.
work?
Well, yeah.
First of all, thanks for including us and my company on the list there, even though it's
Of
a
course.
sneaking at that bronze level. We tried. The summer concerts, was that because we had less numbers of concerts? Is that why the numbers are down?
Oh, well, no, because the numbers are down more than just because last year was the first year that we went down from 5 to 4.
But we were
And
down
you'll
there before, weren't we, in the year before?
No, we had 5.
Okay,
Yeah, we had.
okay. I was just wondering if it was correlated because we had less concerts and so that where we had less sponsorship dollars that came in. Was there a correlation there?
So we did have money budgeted for 21, 22 for summer concerts, but that was the year that I can say that one of our consistent partners that would usually sponsor summer concerts wanted to reallocate their funds and focus more on the runs and Art and Win Festival and not so much the summer concerts. The summer concerts is tricky because I think it's in the middle of summertime, it's on Sundays. I can tell you that for banks in particular, we work with like a lot of banks for Art and Win Festival. So anywhere from Provident, Patelco, and so on. And the biggest challenge for them to even be at the Art and Win Festival is they don't typically work on Sundays. And that's a hardship for them to find the staff to even go to a major festival like the Art and Win Festival that has 40,000 people. So it extends to the summer concerts because the summer concerts are always held on a Sunday, but they don't have nearly as much as the foot traffic as the Art and Win Festival. So it's a little more challenging to get sponsors for the summer concerts. But some
package
years,
hours was bygone era.
yeah, and then sometimes it depends on the performer as well. Sometimes we'll have someone that's interested in maybe just one concert and not necessarily the whole series. So that won't really make a dramatic swing in terms of beating like our sponsorship target.
So for the summer concerts, it's the entire series, not one targeted concert?
So if you want it to be included on overall marketing, we do push the entire series. But if it's someone who just wants to have a table, not necessarily be on our postcard or our flyer or our website, we do have a rate for them to just attend the sponsor as an exhibitor, to attend the concert as an exhibitor per show.
Okay, okay. But you're looking for kind of an event over the entire event sponsor rather than each
Correct.
concert.
Correct.
Have you looked at just each concert?
We have, but sometimes, like last year, we did dabble with that. But then it's hard because we'll save a space for someone, for example, and then if the weekend is very hot, they won't show up. And so,
Really?
I'm
Okay.
So that's just one of the challenges of when you have someone just sign up for one show, they're not as committed. It's more easy for them to possibly drop out.
Okay, well, I mean, we had an event for my company at one of the concerts, so, I mean, that would be something to look at. You know, we had a pop-up and, you know, food and et cetera, things like that.
Yep.
Okay, I'll check in with you. That was my only question was it because there were less concerts?
If I can add, and I think one of the things that we saw over the last couple of years, sorry, May, was the trend is a lot of our significant annual sponsors still wanted to sponsor, but they kept trimming farther back and back and back.
Sure.
And so it was hard because you still wanted them to be part of all of these events, but that meant the dollars got less for all these events. And I think the summer concerts was one of those that saw it a little bit more than some of those others. We saw that with our presenting series. And some of our other things we're able to pick up, like runs, we're able to pick up a couple other more smaller sponsors that you don't see that hit as much as you did, for example, with the summer concerts. And that's kind of where we've been seeing going is it's hard because you're not getting those big sponsors to, like May said, to offset that. And they're just trimming and trimming and trimming.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough to replace Chevron.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the move was on for many years to try to replace Chevron.
Right.
Because we knew what the timeline was.
Right.
All right. All right, next one is Commissioner Levy.
Sure. Thank you. Great presentation, May. I think something you said near the end of your presentation might sort of answer this question where you kind of put out a call to us if we had referrals. So is the process that the city uses to identify potential sponsors essentially like a word of mouth thing? Kind of walk me through a little bit about how staff identifies and then approaches sponsors. Is there like a brainstorming session or following up leads and things you've heard? How does that work?
Sure, it's a variety of things. So I would say number one is just maintaining our database. Of course, people that have sponsored previously are more likely to sponsor again. So I continuously check in with our usuals and see if they're interested, see what their schedule is like. Also, these days, a big challenge is keeping everything updated. So for example, if I'm working with someone at a credit union, they might be at a different branch, they might be gone completely. And these days, like once you lose that individual contact, if you go to a website, like forget finding an actual name, you'll just keep finding like a generic email for the entire company. And it may take weeks or even months of trying to navigate a way to get a hold of like that marketing person or whoever's in charge of sponsorships or partnerships for that specific company. But usually that's number one. Number two is we have a robust relationship with our Chamber of Commerce. So we do participate in the 2 biannual events that the Chamber hosts. They usually have a spring expo and a fall expo. It's usually hosted up at Bridges, and it combines all the different San Ramon businesses and even slightly beyond San Ramon. And it's just a great way to network with the different businesses. And clearly, if they are there, if they're taking the time to participate in a business expo, they're also more likely to want to get their name out there. Also, make relationships with the city to see how they can support. So that's also another big tool for us. And then number 3 would just be cold calls. It's literally looking around and seeing whose logo are on the Bishop Ranch buildings these days, and essentially just doing our research there. It's looking at the San Francisco Business Times to see which East Bay companies are about to create headquarters, if not here in the General Tri-Valley. It's looking at our local cities and seeing who's showing up to their ribbon cuttings and if they're willing to come over to San Ramon to do additional marketing, get their name out there. So it's a combination of things. It's a lot of Excel spreadsheets, a lot of phone calls, and a lot of pestering, but sometimes it does pay off.
Okay. Does the city do any targeted social media outreach on platforms that businesses are already on? Like I'm thinking in particular LinkedIn or anything like that, saying, hey, we're looking for sponsors.
We don't do it specifically for like a call for sponsors, but we do have targeted outreach for our events. And sometimes that just coincidentally draws in sponsors as well.
Okay. And then lastly, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot by saying this, but since you brought up the parade and how that had been a really good opportunity to kind of attract new sponsors and get new excitement. It's unfortunate that the city's financial situation kind of like, put a halt to the momentum that event created. Do you think doing events like that are different from the normal Arts and Win Festival and things like that are probably an effective way to attract new sponsors and kind of get the word out there? And that might be a good area to I know it costs a lot of money to put on those events, a lot of money to make money, but is that something that you think would be a worthwhile strategy?
Absolutely. And it is a trade-off. So having a special event such as the Light Parade, it will draw in sponsors that most likely won't invest in some of the smaller events. So say, for example, non-government agencies, like overall large-scale county agencies, those are people that would want to participate in the parade. Neighboring cities, companies that are outside of San Ramon, they're definitely more likely to want to invest in a large event like that simply for the foot traffic, the amount of people that are there. But on the flip side, it is an additional cost. It really is to the purview of council. If that is like an event or an event like that, if that's something we can put on, because we are limited by just the cost of it, the amount of staff that it takes to run something like that.
Very true. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Commissioner Coney.
Yeah, thanks, May. That was terrific. So you said that Chevron's last donation was it last year? Was it?
It was in
2024?
December, just a few months ago.
So that is not being applied to this coming Art and Wind Festival, right?
Correct.
And yet I see the budget is the same as this last year, right?
For the Art and Wind Festival, yes. For
So
sponsorship.
how are we making up the difference then? I'm just curious.
So for 24-25, when we created the budget, the expectation that Chevron was still going to be a sponsor. We didn't receive word from Chevron that they weren't able to continue our partnership until December of 2024.
We all got kind of blindsided by that one. Yeah, for sure. Okay, got it. And then I'm just curious, is there like a defined list when you talk about logo placements and stuff like that and facilities? And is there a defined list of where those possibilities exist?
To an extent.
Okay.
We don't currently have any facility spaces that are like sponsored by an outside entity. But if there were interest in that, especially like for sport fields, we are working on something that has more concrete guidelines, such as like where logo placement can be, naming conventions. Of course, to have something where we're renaming a park would be a very significant undertaking for the city that would require multiple departments involvement. But we are working on that. We just need someone to show a little interest.
Got it. And then lastly, the marquee right out here. How does that come into play? Is that something that if somebody sponsors, their logo automatically goes up there, or is that a separate thing?
So currently the marquee is reserved primarily for city events and for special partnerships with the city.
Okay.
We currently do not have that written into our sponsorship packages where someone can pay a certain level and then have their logo included on the marquee.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and then I was just wondering about with the pedestrian overcrossing, if there might be some possibilities or opportunities there, but anyway, yeah, food for thought. Thank you.
Noted.
Thank you. Commissioner Osland.
Thank you, May. That was a great presentation. I just wanted to kind of tag on to what Commissioner Levy was asking around the leads in the process. What kind of timeline are you looking at? So for like Art and Win, is that a year out? So as soon as the Art and Win ends, you're starting to seek new partnerships? I'm just curious about kind of your timing for these events.
For each event, it's different. I'd say for most events, the outreach would be maybe 3 months before. For something like Art and Win, I usually start reaching out to people in November, the November before the Art and Win Festival, just to kind of get our feelers out there, especially for sponsors who like to oversee larger areas. So for example, we'll connect with Bishop Ranch to say like, oh, are you still interested in being a stage sponsor or a professional kite area sponsor? And then especially also with a title sponsor, we were fortunate that even though Chevron's not continuing with us this year, we're very excited to have Discover San Ramon on board for this upcoming Art and Wind Festival. So we had to secure that, I'd say, probably around the same timeline, November / December. And it's mainly because we want to make sure that they're getting the most out of their investment. And by that, I mean, we're including their logo on all of the upcoming press releases, the marketing, even in the rec guide as we start marketing our events in like the spring rec guide for upcoming summer events. If we know we're having a significant sponsor, it would be great to include them, especially if they're a title sponsor.
Great, thank you. And one other question I had was about the races. They will provide T-shirts, right? So most people
Yes.
get a shirt,
Correct.
which has logos on it, which has a long shelf life.
Mhm.
Do you think that that is one of the reasons why sponsorship is easier for races?
It depends on the year. So, for example, I'll say for like this past Bah Humbug, just this past December, it was a little scant on the sponsorship side. I don't know if people were expecting bad weather because we have the race, rain or shine, but we didn't have as many sponsors as we did the previous year. But the previous year, we had a partnership with VEG, the emergency vet in town, and they were actually our best dressed dog sponsor because people do tend to bring their dogs and they dress them up like little Grinches. It's wonderful. And they were actually the sponsor for that award, and it was really cute. And so that was something that was out of the norm. And it was just it was an interesting year because we had, if you were there in the expo, we had both sides of the expo just filled with different sponsorship tables, and it was great. So sometimes I think the weather does have something to factor. Alternatively, for the Run San Ramon race, that's always just tricky because it's 4th of July. A lot of people have certain feelings about, being somewhere on the 4th of July when they're a sponsor. So that can be challenging in itself. But everyone loves the T-shirt. We usually tell the sponsors, like, of course, our priority are the registered runners. We want to make sure that everyone that registered, especially same-day runners, can actually leave with the shirt. But the sponsors are always like, okay, I think the crowd is thinning. Can I please take my commemorative shirt home? And it's like, okay.
All right, thank you. Any other question from the commission? No? Okay. Do we have any public comment? Do not. Okay. Comments from the commission? No? No? All right. Thank you, Meg. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Moving on. 7.3 senior, is that one? Yep. Senior Citizen Advisory Committee recommendation. Recommendation, approve recommendations and forward to the City Council for appointment, presented by Brad Morris, Division Manager.
Thank you very much, Commission. And seeing I got the microphone after that presentation, I do want to say May has done an amazing job
Yeah.
bringing this
We had-
this program, bringing it back to life.
Yeah.
Because at times you feel like, is it worth the time, staff and energy for these dollars? And sometimes it doesn't add up, and May's taking the bull by the horn. So it's amazing.
And
So
she's been doing it for quite some time, right?
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
just this year. Thank you.
she came
Thank
to
you.
us with that gift and we took advantage of it.
Yep.
So. All right, sorry about that. Back onto my item of Senior Citizen Advisory Committee recommendation. The recommended action is the Parks and Community Services Commission recommends Colette Clark to serve as a regular member on the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee with a term expiring in March 2026. The Parks and Community Services Commission recommends Sandra March, Judith Murphy, and Zeno Rasmussen to serve as regular members of the Senior Advisory Committee with terms to expire in March 2027. A little bit background on this item. The Senior Citizen Advisory Committee consists of 7 regular members and 2 alternates. They serve 2-year terms. Appointments are made by the city council in March, and then they will commence their first meeting in April. The city clerk lists these vacancies on all the city website, social media accounts, this listing for applications. There are currently 5 vacancies consisting of 4 regular positions and 1 alternate position for the Senior Advisory Committee. 4 applicants were received for consideration. An ad hoc committee consisting of Commissioner Breed and Lopez Lucy interviewed the applicants on Monday, March 3rd, and are recommending the appointment of Colette Clark to serve as the regular member on the committee with a term expiring in March 2026. As well as they are recommending Sandra March, Judith Murphy, Zero Mascuni to serve as regular members on the Senior Advisory Committee with terms expiring in March 2027. And the commission action on this recommendation will be forwarded to the City Council for appointment on their March 25th meeting.
Thank you, Brett. Move. We need a second.
Second.
Can you press the move?
Yeah, I can.
Thank you.
I didn't want to be forever.
All right, 7-0. So the motion passed. All right, 7.4, Library Advisory Committee recommendations. Recommendations, approve recommendations and forward it to the City Council member for City Council for appointment. Presented by Brad Morris, Division Manager.
Wonderful. It is recommended that the commission recommend to the City Council 3 applicants to serve as regular members on the Library Advisory Committee with terms to expire in March 2027. This advisory committee is a little bit different than our other committees as it consists of 5 regular members with 2 alternates. However, they do serve the 2-year terms. Like the other committees, the appointments are made by the City Council in March and the terms commence in the first meeting in April. The city clerk did the normal posting of these vacancies and to receive applications. There are currently 4 vacancies consisting of 3 regular positions and 1 alternate position with terms expiring of March 2027. 5 applications were submitted for the Library Advisory Committee. However, 1 was deemed ineligible. We got a middle schooler that wanted to be part of the committee, so that was exciting, something we need to look into for the future. Didn't quite work though for this one. And then we had another applicant that was not able to be at the interviews. So the ad hoc committee of the commission comprising of Commissioner Oslin and Kaney, interviewed the 3 applications on Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. The ad hoc committee is recommending that Sandra Silver, Jennifer Adams, and Musimi Katakota to serve as regular members on the Library Advisory Committee with terms to expire in March 2027. And again, that would go to the City Council for the recommended action at their meeting at the end of the month.
Thank you, Brett. Can I have a mover?
So move.
I second her.
You have a middle schooler applying for a committee. That's great.
What's that?
What a start. A middle schooler applying for a committee.
I don't think they read the requirements clearly. They just thought, oh, this will be fun.
No, I think I'm just looking at the motivation.
There you go. There you go.
Can I ask a clarifying question real quick? So since we only had 3 applicants and there's still the alternate to be filled, how does that happen? What's that process like?
Yeah, so once they get appointed, or once the City Council makes or appoints at their 25th meeting, the city clerk will usually reopen those committees that are still looking for applicants. And we would reopen them, and then as the applications come in, we would interview them upon receiving them. In this case, we will try to set up that interview with that individual that we were not able to interview after that meeting at that time, and we can bring that forward at the April meeting if that comes to fruition.
Hey, can we read the motion again for me, please? What we're voting on? Because it didn't flow well for me.
Yeah, so for the Library Advisory Committee, it was recommended that the commission recommended the city council 3 applicants to serve as regular members on the Library Advisory Committee with terms expiring in March 2027.
Got it.
And those 3 applicants were, Sandra Silva, Jennifer Adams, and Musumi Katakota.
Katakota.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Brad.
Yep. All right.
So,
Okay, can we ask everybody to vote? We had a motion. There you go. 7-0, motion passed. Thank you. 7.5 Art Advisory Committee recommendations, approve recommendations and forward to the City Council for appointment, presented by Brad Morris, Division Manager. You again, Brad.
And last but never least is the Arts Advisory Committee recommendations. The recommended action is for the Parks and Community Services Commission recommends that Ken Costanzo, Srinivasa Manapargrada, Robert Major, and Nina Sastry to serve as regular members on the Arts Advisory Committee with terms expiring in March 2027. As well as the Parks and Community Services Commission recommends Dinesh Govadero to serve as alternate number 2 on the Arts Advisory Committee with the term to expire in March 2026. And so with this, this is like our other committees. They have 7 committee regular members, 2 alternates, 2-year terms. And with this committee, there were currently 5 vacancies consisting of 4 regular positions and 1 alternate position. This committee received 10 applications were received for consideration, and the ad hoc committee of the Parks and Community Services Commissioner consisted of Commissioner Dorlick and Levy, interviewed the 8 applicants on Monday, March 3rd, as well as Tuesday, March 4th. And with that, 2 applicants did not respond to those interviews. So that's how it played out to where we interviewed the number of people that we did. And as mentioned earlier, the ad hoc committee recommended the appointment of Ken Costanzo, Serini Vasana Manaparada, Robert Major, and Nana Sastry to serve as regular members on the Arts Advisory Committee with terms expiring in March 2027. And the ad hoc committee also is recommending the appointment of Dinesh Govadero to serve as an alternate 2 on the Arts Advisory Committee with the term ending in March 2026.
I have a.
Oh, we have a
fine
question here. Okay, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
So, can people serve on 2 committees?
They cannot. The bylaws, at least for these 3 committees that we're talking about, and I believe all of the city committees, is you can only serve on 1.
And are there term limits for committees members?
Yes, every committee has a 2-year, has a 2-year term limit.
I think I'm asking, is there a, 6 years total or anything? I'm just curious if we have a cap.
Oh, no,
on
there's not.
committees.
You can serve on, sorry, I misunderstood the question. I apologize. No, currently there is no term limits. You can serve as long as you would like to on the committees.
Thank you. Okay, let's move. Over, we have Will. We need a second.
I second it.
You have to press it, please. All right, we have got a second. And then we have vote. All right.
Thank you very much,
7-0.
Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
So motion moved. Thank you.
As a clarification, there was one individual who applied to both the 2 committees, but withdrew from one to serve on the other. Right.
Yes.
We assume that.
Yeah, all right.
For clarity, just for clarity, I don't know that I would say that he withdrew. He was unable to make any of the interview time slots that we attempted to coordinate. So that is why, as we move forward, these will go forward, and then if he's still interested and wants to go through the interview process for the Library Advisory Committee, that would be a possibility, but he would have to relinquish the spot he just got on the Arts Advisory.
All right, Brad, anything else?
No, thank you very much. And we appreciate your time doing all the interviews and going through this process with us. So thank you.
All right, item number 8, staff report, item number 8.1, recreation maintenance and operation report.
Okay, it's a lengthy report again, so hopefully you'll get a chance to take a look at it. But I always like to draw your attention to some of the really interesting articles and facts that are in there. So you might have seen quite a bit on our summer staff hiring. We are in big summer staff hiring mode right now. So interviews and promotions going on at the pool. Our staff are out at the high schools manning tables to recruit those teenagers to work for us as cashiers and front counters and as day camp leaders. So there's quite a bit in there on that. You probably also noticed the leading up to Earth Day. Our nature coordinator, Elise, is just knocking it out of the park, coming up with great nature programs and working with Jessica Reber, who is our supervisor of the nature and the farms. And so there's a great series of Nature Day themed programs that have been going on. They're calling it Nature Quarter as we move towards Earth Day. And one of them, which I know that Commissioner Levy will mention, was the Dark Skies Alliance Walk, which was spectacular. Everyone's going to need to go on it, but I'm not going to steal your thunder because you can talk about it later, but it's in there. They've been doing nature story times. They've been doing letterboxing, which is kind of like a treasure hunt for letters or for in nature things, and so much fun stuff. So take a look at that. Also, Sunrise Ridge, our newest park, really exciting. The sports field has been generating rental revenue since it opened in mid-November. We've brought in a little over 35,000 in rental revenue for those synthetic fields. So that's exciting and what we would have hoped we would get that going. The picnic area has just come online, available for rental, and it came online and we had 8 reservations immediately. So that's going to be a very popular spot. And then lastly, from our public works partners, there's some really great pictures of the Quail Run cricket pitch, installation pics, really interesting how that went together and how it's being put together. So just wanted to make sure you got a chance to look at that. Any questions on anything else I can answer?
I have a question on the hiring of the summer hiring that you're going to the schools and that you're doing that now. I didn't see us in that at the teen job fair. I didn't see that San Ramon was there.
We were there.
You were there, but it seems as though you're doing other things other than not just going there for people to.
Well, I think we're part of the organizers of the event
Yeah.
as a whole, and I know we had a San Ramon
Yeah, you did.
table.
I know.
So I think it crosses over, right? So part of us is teen programming at that point and helping plan and implement, and part of us is recruiting. Did you have something to add? So yeah, it's one of our definite components. It just wasn't happened to be in the rec report.
Okay.
All right, any other question? Please go ahead.
I just wanted to see if anyone else read about painting with coffee.
I know. That was interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
I gotta go see that
I do
work.
too. Have to go see that.
Yeah, in the gallery. Our arts, we have so many really, I'm so proud of what the work of some of our coordinators who are kind of, when you go down to the coordinator level, you're specialized and you just really do what you do really, really well. And we have got some people hitting home runs in arts and nature and aquatics and sports, doing all kinds of really innovative and exciting things. So.
Cool. All right, thank you, Kathy. All right, moving on to item number 9, committee liaison report and announcements. So let's get started from this side. Commissioner Coney?
This is liaison you're talking, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No report other than we had our interviews yesterday afternoon, and let me just clarify that when I said that there ended up being 3 applicants, all 3 were very, very good. So I didn't want to convey that, we just said we were taking all 3 just because. So no, they were all 3 terrific and had just a ton of enthusiasm and energy for serving on the committee. So I think Commissioner Oslin and I were both pretty thrilled about that. So, and then the next meeting is April 10th.
All right, Commissioner Oslin?
It's always really fun to interview our committee, interested folks in the committees. Okay, I'm going to start just quickly with Open Space Advisory Committee. We did not have a meeting in February. I want to thank Vice Chair Breed for being ready and poised to fill in for me on deck. I really appreciate that, but the meeting was canceled due to the holiday and anyway, so our next meeting is coming up next Monday. We had the Quail Run Trail and Doherty Valley Ridge Trail hike on March 8th. And if you haven't done that hike, I really encourage you guys to do it. You meet at the Amador Rancho Community Center and you walk around the fields towards Bollinger and you get the trailhead there. And it's a beautiful hike with gorgeous views. The next hike will be on April 12th, and that will be,
Who's guiding that like?
I'm gonna guide that hike
There.
with Diana, so you guys
Yeah.
better show. It's the lower Doherty Valley Ridge hike. So we'll be doing a trial run to get ready for that, and it would be really nice to see you guys. It's 9 o'clock on April 12th.
How long is,
Pardon me?
how long is that trail?
I think it's, here it is. I'll tell you. Here it is, 2.8
Miles?
Yeah.
miles.
Oh, okay.
Miles, not kilometers, miles.
It's ours.
Yards. All right.
All right.
Are you ready here? So I had 2 city council meetings to sit through, and the one on February 11th was a record length. I even had to type up my notes here. So their business, new business, the first on the agenda was annual audit report for the city of San Ramon for the fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2024. And the recommendation was to accept the report. The presentation was given by Mays and Associates, a consultant that the city works with. And so what they did is they conducted an independent audit each year, and it starts June 30th and ends at the fiscal year. And that's well, they have 2 phases, an interim and a final. And so the final phase is in October. The results of the audit were no modifications needed. They got the highest rating that you can get. And our appreciation is good, no changes, and we are receiving the Distinguished Budget Award for 2024. Yeah, good stuff. And then 9.2, new business, non-retail policy discussion. This one went on for about a good hour. The recommendation was to receive the report and provide feedback. The presentation was given by Natelson Dale Group and Cindy Yee. So this is a planning-focused discussion. This is part of the general plan update for 2040 and a follow-up on the change in a policy in the plan. So the general gist of this, if an applicant wants to submit a proposal to develop a space that includes less than 25% retail, it'll take a lot longer time for them to get approval. So we're talking about shopping centers. So the consultant presented on the changes in shopping trends, how a lot of people are ordering online now, shopping is, centers are struggling, and how retail is changing. They also looked at the sales tax impacts if retail is reduced. They found that the sales tax from the retail is only 29% of the city's revenue. So not a huge amount of money is coming in from retail purchases. If the city changes the policy in the general plan to not have retail as a strict component, meaning 25% or more, it would respond better to market needs. So that was from the consultant. Changes in the income on the sales tax would be a very low impact. So the Planning Commission had recommended eliminating the limit requiring retail, which would offer more flexibility to developers. But the City Council was very concerned if we eliminate the limit that it might be a problem and that we might not have enough retail. So they didn't want to approve this change in the general plan without more information so they could make a better and more informed decision. So it's going to come back to the City Council. The consultant will come back with new modeling data to share with the council. The interesting thing that came out of this long discussion is that most cities do not have this 25% retail requirement, only San Ramon.
So question, does retail by definition include restaurant and food service?
Yes.
Oh.
They're talking about
Okay.
shopping centers being converted into mixed use and housing.
All right, so the retail does include restaurant and other.
And that was part of the discussion from the city council is you don't want to take out all of these, amenities and then have to replace them with something else. So from a sustainability standpoint, as well as from a cost standpoint. So that was part of their discussion. They want more data. They're not convinced that this is the best approach. 9.3 was resolution number 2025-017, authorizing mid-year financial review. And the recommendation was to approve a resolution. A presentation was given by Scott Cole. And bottom line is we maintain a secure financial base. We have good reserves on hand, and the council approved it. And then 9.4, consideration of and direction to staff for the candidate selection to fill the vacancy for the Planning Commission. And recommendation, receive the report and provide direction on how to conduct the interviews. 9 candidates had applied and they scheduled their interview time and their approach to the interviews. And so since then, I believe I know they've had their interviews, so I think that I believe Vice Chair Breed will be talking about that next. One more meeting was, where is it? That was last night, and that was March 11th. Much easier meeting, shorter in duration, and one new business item, 9.1, geological hazard abatement districts, GAD, which Chair Peoples mentioned tonight. And Shane Heisch, district engineer, gave a presentation on wildfire prevention. And we have 2 GAD districts. We have the Northwest District, which is 192 acres, and we have the Doherty Valley GAD, which is 2,900 acres of open space. And what GAD does is it abates geological hazards and acts as a good steward of the land. And so basically Shane was talking about what the wildfire prevention is. Every June, you'll probably see signage around the city talking about weed abatement. And so the areas need to be mowed and disked to get rid of shrubs and any dead trees and create a fire break, 100 feet buffer away from any property. So that's what the discussion was about, and it was very interesting. And also Public Services plays a big role in this. They do, we have an inventory of 48,000 trees, and they keep a eye on these trees constantly and make sure that they're healthy and taken care of. And PG&E also plays a role. They keep their gas lines and wires away from trees. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Osling, Commissioner Britt,
Yep.
Vice Chair Britt.
That's all right. Same guy. So, hey, I reviewed the second city council meeting, and Commissioner Peoples talked about the fire abatement one that was covered. He covered it very well. It was covered during that. Mine was kind of everything we've seen. Under new business 9.1, they went through the Arts Advisory Commission report, which we all just said. And 9.2 was the open spaces report, which we just went through. So you saw all the details on that. So those were the 3 big highlights. I always get fascinated by all the different treasury stuff that they approve every month, the pages and pages, because I always get fascinated on how we spend money as a city. So if you're ever interested, I would think that's kind of interesting. Also, it was mentioned that Commissioner Lopez Lucy and I did the senior advisory interviews, which for me was, I will tell you, we did it at the Senior Advisory Center, which I thought was great personally. So it got us in the vibe and feel. And so, and Commissioner Lopez Lucy was very great with helping, clarify great questions and had a lot of knowledge base. So it was a lot of fun. So, and like Terry said, I think we really picked some amazing people. As a matter of fact, I learned a lot about different ideas that we could go to. Carol and I wrote a bunch of ideas down and shared them with Steve, for the that came up. So that's a benefit of going through these interviews is what do we meet, what are we doing, and what opportunities do we have? So hopefully, Carol, I covered everything, but if you touch on, so those are the two biggies for me.
All right. Thank you, Vice Chair Britt. Commissioner Dolich?
All right. So the Arts Advisory Committee meeting last month, we had a presentation from those lovable folks from the marketplace with some public art that they proposed. We're having a special meeting on March 26th. The original third Wednesday meeting has been postponed because they're coming back on the 26th to tell us what new they're going to do because it was not acceptable for what they were proposing. So I'll update you on that. Yeah, it was kind of mundane, kind of trite, kind of just getting through the motion and not very inventive. Yeah, even the not artists on the Arts Advisory Committee meeting said, come on back. Then we had a lot more fun because the two artists that were selected for the mural project were there, and we had a great conversation with them. So it was kind of refreshing going from I don't like the guys in the marketplace anyway, the marketplace people, and oh no, it's just that's a known fact in Santa Ramon. I mean, come on, and the two artists were just engaging and, very open to conversation and suggestions, and really had a great lively dialogue with the two artists. And, if you remember, they were very, kind of very different, in their approach and such. But they both were very excited about the potential and how it could be leveraged and, et cetera. And we're talking about the perspective, when you're walking up or walking down and how that could be different and how they could leverage some of their work for that. So, yeah.
Did they have a decision on who gets which stairwell?
No, we didn't talk about that. Yeah.
Adam mentioned that.
Yeah,
Did
it is in the contract. Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
we didn't we didn't talk about that specifically, but we were talking more about the ideas and how they would present it. One of the artists does a lot with layovers. So he'll do the art in the studio and then have it on a platform that he could put on I gave it away. He could put it on the wall. And so there was some conversation regarding that and how that would, work because the surface is somewhat unique in what they're, working with. So, but that was a great conversation, and a great change from the first conversation, which will come back on the March 26th, by the way.
God bless you.
If I didn't mention that. God bless you. And then we did have a cultural growth fund application. It's again a recurring application. It seems that once you put in an application, you just keep coming back and coming back and coming back. We have like a cadre of 4 or 5 groups that just keep coming back. I don't know why nobody else hears about this thing, but it was the Love for Piano people.
For public record, what is the fund for again?
Cultural Growth Fund. So the Cultural Growth Fund is $2 per ticket for events, primarily at the Front Row Theater and the Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center. It was increased from $1 per ticket to $2 per ticket about 4 years ago, I think, something along that line. That sound right? Okay, so that goes into a fund, and there's 2 purposes for the fund. One is for updating equipment requirements at the theaters. So technology as it is and theater technology as it works is somewhat, obsolete after a couple of years. New boards come out, new video, new lighting technology, new software, et cetera. So most of the fund is used to update and upgrade the theater facilities with equipment. There is a portion of the fund that is used and set aside for primarily nonprofits, although Love for Piano is a for-profit company. But a community organization, primarily a nonprofit, when they're going in to do a performance at one of those two theaters, it can be somewhat harrowing if you don't know how many people are going to be there and if you're going to have cost recovery and et cetera, things like that. So they can apply for a cultural growth fund that is specified to cover just the theater costs. So, you can't, use the funds to pay for artists, you can't for personnel, for, marketing, et cetera, or if you're going to have, beverages or something like that. It is only to cover the theater costs. And the theater costs are not inexpensive, depending upon, when you're going to be using it in what theater. So it covers not just the actual physical plant of the theater, but also any and all of the consultants and staff that are necessary to provide the performance. So it's a safety net. So if, let's say it's $4,000, we'll use easy math, to cover the theater expenses. They will submit a budget and demonstrate that if they sell so many tickets at this price, they'll cover it. But if they don't, that's available. So if they cover their expenses, the funds go back into the Cultural Growth Fund for another event. If they don't, then we can the Arts Advisory Committee will allocate a certain amount, and if that amount is utilized in full, then they get that to cover their theater costs. If it's not utilized in full, say they get a $1,500 grant and they only spend $533, there's a shortfall for the theater, then the $533 goes toward covering that shortfall, and the rest goes back into the theater. It's about 2/3 to 1/3 between equipment and performances. 80-20? Yeah, okay, so it's 80-20, because et cetera. So we don't get a lot of, there's a Korean, cultural group, they come in every year. I think once you get the bug, you come back. This is like the third time for this group. So, oh, sure. Yeah, not a problem. So those were the three things. And we do have a special Arts Advisory Committee meeting on March 26th to get back with those TWR, TRW, whatever, the guys from the marketplace.
Okay. Hey, well, I heard, is the Eagle being installed here soon? I heard you on a presentation. I was just curious.
You heard me on a presentation, or Mayor Armstrong also announced it at his State of the City? Yes, that's the plan. I'm working with the artist and I feel confident that it will be delivered. The eagle will land and be perched on its stoop by Memorial Day.
That's what I heard. It must have been the wrong person.
And hopefully before then, but
Never read that. Listen to
Yes,
it.
that's the goal.
Both the Eagle pretty soon.
Thank you, Brad.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Dolish, anything else? No? Okay. All right, Commissioner Lopez Lucy.
Thank you. Well, at the Senior Advisory Committee, they really had a lot of business at this meeting. And so we're bringing you up to date. There is now table tennis in the center on Thursday and Friday afternoon. Times are different, but the fee is $5. And they are, so if you're an Encore member, then your fee would be waived. So, but this is new that they've started that and it's becoming popular. The Senior Foundation Tea will be on Saturday, May 3rd from 2 to 4 p.m. and it will be held at the San Ramon Community Center. The price is $30 per person. And so you make your reservation through the Senior Center, and they urge you to make your reservation soon because it's usually sold out. Now, for me, I went to the meeting and Dum didn't make her reservation before she left the city.
What are you talking about?
Give up an interview.
The new council member, Robert, is the new liaison from the city council, so we got to meet him better. So that Mayor Armstrong had been there, but now we have Robert, and so he gave us updates and everything and was wanting to find out more about the advisory committee and whatever. And so that we now have a director, new director of finance, which will be very important and assist the mayor and be a great asset for the city, I think. So you can make an appointment at the senior center for having your taxes completed. However, if you have rental property, they are not qualified in that area to help you. So spaces are almost full and the last date to register is April 9th. Page Turners, their book club there, they meet on the third Monday at 1:30 p.m. and they use all the books from the library, so you don't have to buy or purchase them. And April 1st, between 10:30 and 12:30 is your opportunity to get the real Clipper card. They will be there so that you can get the real Clipper card. So I'm sending my husband on that day to get his. On the third Wednesday at 2 p.m., you can make an appointment for legal services. So they can help you there. And there is a scanner now for your use at the Daugherty Station Library. So if you didn't know that and don't have a scanner, you can go to the Daugherty Station Library.
Cool. Got a charge or free?
Free.
Ah, okay.
And if you would like to take the senior trips, there's room for 15 people on the bus. And visit your copy of the Encore, which will review the upcoming dates and places, so you can see if you want to go. There are Canasca and Bridge card games going on in the library area. While we were meeting, there was a pinochle game, a card game being played that day. That isn't on their list, but these people usually go there all the time and play. And as I've been there more often now, the library space is now being used a lot more than it was. So there's activities going on there all the time. So the committee is requesting that the garden be open during the day. It's locked now, and the reason they stated it was locked was because people were stealing the fruit and the flowers.
Man,
Stealing the flowers.
Well,
There wasn't proof though, so.
anyway, this is why the seniors were told why it was locked. So, but as the park commissioner, I find that the Crow Canyon Gardens are open, and I wonder why we don't have the Southern Garden open during the time that the senior center is open. Because it seems kind of like they should be on equal level. So I think we should address that. And also the members felt that it was not someone stealing the fruit or flowers. It was the squirrels and the other ground bugs that were using.
most likely, most likely, yeah.
Most
Yeah,
likely,
makes
those
sense.
lovely squirrels.
So they didn't have ping pong before?
No.
That's
they
brand
didn't.
new?
That's new.
Or ping pong, next thing you know, they'll be playing.
There, we have reviewed that to see if there's gonna be more equipment in the, area that in the garden. That was brought up that was, I got questioned as when it was when it was going to happen, and I could not answer them, to be truthful,
Okay.
because it's still in the works. So today, the advisory committee presented some proposed bylaw changes. They were only recommendations, as we know, most of the advisory committee bylaws are, most generally for all of the advisory committees. But this is, and I have given a copy of this to Brad and to Kathy and to Steve. Number one, the committee would like to remove the citizens from their titles. So the title would be San Ramon Senior Advisory Committee. They don't think that they need the citizens in there. Under membership, they would like to remove the last bullet, which states, quote, are 18 years of age or older, unquote. They believe this is not necessary because it already states in the bylaws a person must be 55 plus. So they thought that was not correct. In membership, they would like to be number B, remove 2 non-voting city staff members to 1 and add a recreation supervisor to the next, in the last line. So the sentence would read, one non-voting city staff member, which would be the director, division manager, a program manager, and a recreation supervisor will serve to provide professional expertise, program and budget advice, and assistance with applicable open meeting regulations. Number 4, the committee would like to change how often they meet. If it is changed, they would like it to read, change the meeting requirements to every other month, starting in April. And this would eliminate the first Monday, sometimes falling on a holiday. And the last one was to remove the requirement to track staff time on committee work. And it was said that apparently this is not being done at the present time. So I've given those things to be reviewed because they did present those and I think they have to be considered. And so they were very boisterous and they expressed their opinions. And I did also have a lot of notes that I took with Commissioner Breed and I that interviewed. And so I had about a couple of pages that I have also given you that they would suggestions for improvement. So I thought, well, I shouldn't just keep those. So that's why I typed them up and gave them to you because I thought that a few of them are pretty good. So anyway, it was a productive meeting. And so apparently then maybe in April, we'll be going to just every other month.
Cool. All right.
But that's my report for now.
Thank you. Commissioner Levy?
Sure, I've got a couple things. First, February 18th teen council meeting, and I'm not stealing Student Commissioner Chala's thunder on this one. She was unavoidably absent from that one, so she has authorized me to give the report on her behalf. So there were two main items of business at that teen council meeting: the discussion of the new teen environmental stewardship and service learning program, which was presented by Elise Lightfoot. And it's a brand new program. It's very exciting to kind of encourage an ongoing service commitment to environmental education and stewardship that teens can participate in and have a capstone project just that gets presented at Earth Day, I believe. So it was very interesting. That's a brand new program, and I think teens are going to be very excited by it. And then the other was the approval of the Outstanding Teen Citizenship Award timeline and enhancements, because that ties into the Chamber of Commerce's WOW Awards timeline. And because you've got school year applications and a lot of priorities to juggle, there's always a little bit of shifting that needs to go on there that the Teen Council figures out. So yeah, it was a good meeting.
Just adding on,
Sure.
On Saturday, we also had our teen commission retreat with all the Tri-Valley commissions. So that was super productive and fun. And then also on Friday, we have another senior tech day. And the topic we're doing for this one is scam calls. So we're hoping to get a lot of involvement on Friday.
Cool.
Please.
Nice. Very helpful. Very
Take care of that.
helpful.
Yeah, I got one additional thing, if everybody.
Oh, I wasn't quite done.
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
No, it's all right. Okay, so that was the teen council meeting. And then as Director Hyman said earlier, for the Dark Skies event on February 21st that I participated in, I just want to give a shout out to this. It was a really interesting event. The Dark Skies Alliance representative, Andy, was a very fascinating speaker. He had a lot of great thoughts about how to be more intentional with lighting choices, like direction, warmth, so that it's not causing undue light pollution, or the effects that it has on the human psyche, like depression and things like that. So there's a lot of thought that goes into it. It was a really fascinating talk. And I want to give Elise Lightfoot credit for one, organizing that, because it was a unique event, which I really liked. And then she also did a great job kind of it's definitely a family-friendly event, but there were a couple of children who were not fully engaged in the program and were being somewhat unruly, and Elise did a terrific job kind of trying to keep them safe, because you're outside and walking at night in the dark, so there could be real problems, but Elise did a great job, and I just want to give her a special shout out for that. And then lastly, I made the announcement last month, and I'll reiterate it again. Next month, Saturday, April 26th, from 6:30 to 9:30, the San Ramon Library Foundation will be having its Night in the Stacks benefit concert at the San Ramon Library to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the Doherty Station Library, the 36th anniversary of the San Ramon Library itself, and then the 40th anniversary of the foundation itself. And the main act will be the Nicholas Beard Trio. So it'll be jazz. Tickets are available on the city's website for $55 inclusive of fees. That gets you charcuterie, adult beverages available for separate purchase. And to sweeten the deal a little bit more, tentatively and graciously, Commissioner Caney has agreed to serve as master of ceremonies for the event. So if that gets you in the door, maybe it's worth it. But thank you, Terry. Appreciate that. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. And if you guys can make it, that would be great if you could.
What day again?
Saturday, April 26th.
April.
Cool. Okay.
May I add
Now you
one
can-
thing?
Oh,
During the day on April 26th, you can come to the sheep shearing event at Forest Home Farms, and that will be from 10 to 2.
Well, that's a great meeting, because I just want to recognize and put it into the minutes of that former city council member, Cal Raleigh, was honored at the California District, Parks District meeting with, I think it was an MVP award. Citizen. Yeah, so that was great. And then two staff members are on the board of directors for the district this year. So good representation from the Parks and Community Services in San Ramon.
Yep. Cool. All right. I think we covered everybody. So my report is the Planning Commission meeting on March 4th, 2025. There were 2 public hearings. One is general plan amendment for downtown mixed use, north side wide floor area ratio, FAR amendment. Applicant is asking to amend the city general plan 2040 zoning ordinance, DMUN-N, minimum sidewalk where it's sidewalk floor area ratio, FAR, standard was currently 1.25. There was no unit, it's just said 1.25. And they want to reduce it to 0.5 minimum. This is the second hearing of the 3 planned hearings. So staff recommendation that Planning Commission receive the report and share their thoughts and defer this decision to the next meeting, which is on March 18th. That was the first one. And second public hearing is Bishop Branch 2 residential development. So this is Bishop Branch 11. Okay. I hope everybody knows which one is that.
Which one is it?
Right next to 10.
That's what I was gonna say too.
This is the
It will be, it's across
Yeah.
Camino Ramon
Come-
from our new park, from Critter Crossroads. It's on the other
Yes.
side of the
So
street.
there's a medical
Yeah.
there,
Buildings
John
in there.
Mayer and other.
So Iron Horse Trail, BR 11, then our new park will be over here on the other side of Camino Ramon. Yeah.
Yep. So the plan is 195 residential units, 128 multifamily, and 67 single family. Multifamily would be 3 stories, 4 units each, ranging from 1,573 square feet to 2,430 square feet. 3 to 4 bedrooms, 3 to 3.5 bath, and 2-car garage. Single families are 3-story, detached, 3 units, 2 units, and then the units are 2,173 to 2,323 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bath, 2-car garage. They also said that they are going to have 15% affordable units, totally 29 units, 10 for very low income families, 5 low and 14 moderately income families cottage. So that was the plan given. Yep. All right. With that, before we adjourn, if there's anything anybody wants to comment on, add on, questions? Yes, please.
Speaking of Bartlett Pear Park, can you give us an update?
Well, they think, let's see, I've got these all on my wall in my office. I got to get all my dates right. So just the more exciting update is probably Critter Crossroads. We're anticipating coming in by the end of summer. We should be able to see that open. So that's the first in line. Then as you come around to December of 2025 this year, we should see BR1A. That's the Heritage Park, our first POPA. That's when they're saying that's going to come in. Don't know for sure. And then I think that we'll see Bartlett Pear next spring, maybe early summer. So like a year from now-ish. That's when they think that one will come on. So that one's a little tricky too, to know exactly, when that'll hit, also because you'll hit some rainy seasons out there. So that one will get a little closer, better estimate when we get a little closer to it. And I don't know, Rancho Phase 2, that's still a couple years out.
All right, with that, we adjourn the meeting today. Parks and Community Services meeting, regular meeting on March 12th, 2025, and the time is 9:24 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.